I'm here with former colleague Danny Bate to my right, and then we have to my left my present colleague Juan Muttoni from the Spanish department. We're talking about Danny's new book, The Reason He Left Us as well, which we're all divided about still to this day. And now, so the question really is like, why does Q need you? That's the first question.
Okay, great. So thanks for having me back, guys. Still feel a little bit like a traitor from Radio Prague, but it's very nice to be back. It's very surreal. And as you correctly say, the title of my book, which is the reason why I had to leave working here, is Why Q Needs You, and it's a history of basically the alphabet and the way that we spell in English, which, if people may have noticed, has not a great reputation. English spelling is pretty weird compared to, say, Slovak spelling or Spanish spelling. So in the book, I try to answer the question of why Q needs you. Why did we partner up one letter with a useless letter, namely Q, and many other topics?
And does that have anything to do with maybe this?
And to our viewers as well.
That is a good drawing. Thank you very much. That is very good.
Because that was by our colleague Kristina Kelnerova. So she is the artist in the department. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So listeners will be extremely confused, and viewers also. This is a very good rendition of an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph.
She's an artist.
Yeah, that is not bad. Where did she get this from?
From your book.
Okay. So it's the head of an ox, like the head of cattle, with horns. And one of the first things that I need to explain in this book, to really set the scene where the alphabet comes from, where our letters come from, is basically to go back to the land of ancient Egypt. That is the birthplace of the alphabet, even though its origins are complicated and very, very old, so it's difficult to piece together the evidence. But in a nutshell, what happens is that you take this ox's head, and you do this, and over the centuries, this will become our letter A.
Incredible. Yeah. Well, I think the stories you might be telling in your book are very interesting, but not only because of the topic. It has a lot to do with the way you talk about linguistics, when you talk about history as well. And I just can't wait to read your book. But first of all, I think we are...
Final draft, because he did read. One of the few people on this earth who read the book already.
Yes, it's Juan Muttoni and Stephen Fry who read early versions of the book.
But since we are here in the Czech Republic, and you've been writing about letters and language, we have to bring the fact that you were able to learn Czech on your own. And every time I ask you how you did it, you say, well, I had a lot of time, free time, I had nothing to do, but how did you actually do it? What did you do? What exercises you did?
He's asking for a friend right now.
Okay. Yeah. We really need to understand, for people who are trying to learn. Well, there's one guy, a linguistic, who was able to learn on his own. How did you do it?
I stand by what I've said in the past. A lot of time and not many friends. It's I had good motivations. I had luck and motivations in my personal life, which meant that I had, if not a teacher, then I had an abundance of motivation for learning the language, namely my future wife and my future mother-in-law, who doesn't really speak English, so that's two great motivations right off the bat right there. But I would say, so I have these degrees in academic degrees in linguistics, the field of the science of language, and it helps. It really helps. I often describe linguistics as like the cheat codes for learning any language. It gives you a good insight as to what is actually happening. And when you understand something, it makes it easier to learn. That's not very useful or relevant to you because you don't have the time nor the inclination to go and do a degree in linguistics, and that's okay. I will only add two things, which may be a bit more practical. The first is that the Czechs are a fairly formal society, and interactions in Czech society can often work according to a script. And if you can learn that script, that gives you a great sort of boost as to, okay, I went into that shop or I went into that, restaurant, and I had a Czech conversation. So long as it doesn't deviate from the script, that feels good. You go in there, dobrý den, já bych si dal, já dám si, etc., etc. You say these things, nashledanou, and then you're out.
I love that you didn't say jak se máte.
Jak se máte,
because of course you wouldn't ask that
No, of
question.
course. No. Far too personal. So learning that script really helped me and gave me a boost as to, okay, I can manage this country, I'm going to be okay. The bigger one, the one where actually the linguistics comes in much more handy, is that even though Czech may seem completely different and is largely, different to languages that you may know if you're coming from, let's say, the Americas or from Western Europe, it nonetheless has been around in Europe for a long time. So it has many, many things in common. The phrase I always give people is that if you want to learn a Czech word, tear it to pieces. Tear the Czech word to pieces, find out the way that it was put together, and very often it was assembled as a word in a similar way to, say, English or French or German in particular. German was very useful for me. So the example I often go to is something like počítač means computer. Looks totally alien. It's built on the word to count. Compute, count. It's the same idea. In French, ordinateur. It's a counter. Literally, it's the same idea. Or as a foreigner, I often need to talk about insurance in this country, which is pojištění. Pojištění. What's the root of pojištění? Jistý. What does it mean? Sure. Insurance. Pojištění. It's the same principle. So tear words apart in Czech and you'll gain a lot more insights and the language will look a lot more friendly.
That's really good advice. You just got to think. You speak French, German. You
Well,
speak some...
not German, but I've been trying to learn Czech for quite some time, and I have to say it's extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
But just from hearing Danny, we can see that he knows a lot about linguistics, letters.
PhD.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything else to
Bonus
offer.
round.
Just let me...
Yeah, I think that you can prove even farther how good you are with these things.
What is this?
So this is our game we have.
What is
Yeah.
This is
this?
Juan's idea. It's a brilliant idea.
Take one piece of paper.
Oh, with pleasure.
We're going to do
and
these bonus
trepidation.
rounds in between questions.
Can I read
think
it?
that's great.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
that's a good way to do it.
This says this is a lowercase h and an uppercase h,
Yes.
or h if you prefer.
Tell us a
Open
story.
to interpretation. So that's the question.
Wow. Okay. Tell you a story about the letter H.
A little bit.
A little bit. So this is a total surprise. I want that on record. I was not expecting this. What can I tell you about this? Okay.
It's in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, it
You
is.
can talk about the beginning of the book.
I can do that. I can definitely do that. I can tell you about Russian on this letter. How does that sound?
That's lovely.
Excellent.
So this is a letter that we English writers and readers get ultimately from the Greeks, from the ancient Greeks. And thousands of years ago, they used this letter, and originally it stood for the sound h, as it does in English, so like hat and head. But in one particularly prestigious dialect of Greek, ancient Greek, they lost that sound in the same way that people in London might say like ed and av rather than head and have. Same principle, basically, same thing going on. So there was a letter going spare in that dialect of ancient Greek. And instead of just dropping the letter altogether, they thought, well, we'll repurpose it. We'll use it for a vowel instead. They used it for the vowel air, and it's called eta in ancient Greek today. So it's our H, but it's gone down a completely different journey. And this makes its way into Cyrillic writing, where you see that looks like a backwards N, and it stands for the letter, sound E, as in like, I don't know, something like president. Like it's spelt with something that looks like a backwards N, but it's actually the sister letter of our H.
Well, don't you want to read the book now?
Okay,
That's the hook.
one down.
One down. Well, we have plenty of
Oh,
those.
no.
So.
Okay.
Well, speaking about Slavic languages then, so was there something that motivated you about the Czech language then as well? Because we see the passion in your eyes about speaking about the letter H and its Slavic roots in Russia and all that. But like, yeah, so to our previous question before the bonus round, which is coming up again in a short while, like, did Czech also have that inspiration, motivation? It was like, because you're a proper Anglophobe, you're from, Norfolk. Now I'm on the spot. You're from Norfolk.
I am, yes.
So very rural UK for those who aren't aware.
It's the Shire, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful part of the UK. But yeah, so like, what was it, or was it the fiance?
It's her. It's all her fault. Yeah, I can safely say that I met my fiancée by the end of this week, my wife. I met her 10 years ago, and I vividly remember meeting her and thinking, I know nothing about your country, but you're really cute, and I want to impress you. Should I lie? And I went with no. I'll admit, I'll tell the truth, that I knew two things. I knew that the Czech Republic existed, and I knew that Prague existed, and that was it. Everything else, all the essential information, dumplings, beer, Charles IV, Charles Bridge, Prague Castle, nothing. I was 19, barely knew the world, being born in this, basically the Shire, for Lord of the Rings fans out there, and it is all thanks to her. Yeah.
So in the end, maybe the book, it's about a love story.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's not a history of our letters at all.
Sure. I mean, it is pretty linguistic. It's a pretty nerdy book, but hopefully I've made
it is a different type of love story.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's a different type of love, exactly.
And the Czech language is mentioned in it quite often. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you were mentioning that when you're studying linguistics, it helps you to learn different languages. Mm-hmm. Does Czech, being such a hard language, help you improve your skills as a linguistic?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's certainly given me confidence. Other languages don't look too scary now that I know that I've reached a certain degree of Czech. And, we should be clear, my Czech is not perfect. I do want that on record. No, I want that on record. But it has given me confidence. And the principle I mentioned earlier about how languages that may look different may have a lot in common, if you sort of scratch the surface, has been really helpful. So, you can go more difficult in terms of European languages. If you're coming from English, you can go more difficult than Czech. I'm thinking,
Slovak.
Yeah, I mean, Slovak is... I think it's a bit friendlier than Czech, to be honest. There's no sh, for example. So and well done on that. Good on you guys. I was thinking Hungarian and Finnish.
Do you know the story of r?
I do.
Wow.
That's bonus question.
No. Okay, I mean, I can tell you r.
Please.
I don't know how interesting it is, but basically r as a sound, this infamous Czech sound, emerged out of the softening of r. So once upon a time...
That's a softening?
That's a softening. Or when we talk about softening, what we really mean is that a palatal quality was added in, so that the roof of the mouth, basically. People who say or hear the sound r often say, at least to me, that it kind of sounds like a r, like a rolled r, and a j, which is a palatal sound. That's a good intuition. That is accurate, because it's kind of both those combined. And what happened is that Czech had a bunch of... once upon a time, Czech had a lot simpler system of consonants, but because certain consonants would come before certain vowels in a word, they found themselves in certain contexts being softened, having this palatal quality added. So this created the sounds like t and j out of t and d, which is much more familiar to a Spanish speaker, t and d. And likewise, the soft version of r was r. Probably other Slavic languages had it once upon a time. Polish probably had it, because Polish actually has the letters r and then j together in a word like, rzecz or something like that, but it's become a j. So it really is unique to Czech now.
But we were derailing you with our impromptu bonus round there. But so what is it about the Central European language Czech that it doesn't? You were saying that Hungarian is more complicated. Yes. So where were we at? You were just saying that Finnish and Hungarian were kind of that this wasn't as complex or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it all depends where you're coming from. But I would say, from a linguistic point of view, that Hungarian and Finnish, I predict to be more difficult, even more difficult, because unlike Czech, they do come from a completely different origin. So Czech and English, believe it or not, are actually distantly related, also to Spanish as well. So I don't know. Give me the numbers 2 and 3 in Spanish.
Dos, tres.
Dva, tři. Okay, in Finnish and Hungarian, don't quiz me on this, but I'm confident it's something completely different. So they have a completely different origin, but looking for the the connections, shall we say, like the sideways connections between these languages, how they've influenced each other over time. Finnish, for example, I mean, it's been stuck up there in Northern Europe for millennia now, actually has a huge Germanic influence from Swedish, from Low German, the language of North Germany to an extent, and even the ancestor of all the Germanic languages spoken 2,000 years ago, has a huge influence on Finnish. So looking out for these things makes these languages seem a lot more familiar, right? I was in Budapest in Hungary, and you need to catch a station in Budapest. The stations are really neatly organized. The north, the south, the east, and the west, which I think is just so neat and tidy. Unlike, say, London stations, where it's like, a battle, King's Cross, whatever that is, etc., etc., whoever St. Pancras was. What is a station in Hungarian? Pályaudvar sounds completely different. Pályaudvar. Pálya means like track or rail. Udvar means court. It's Bahnhof. It's German Bahnhof, basically. Literally translated into Hungarian. So yeah, Czechs made me feel a bit more confident about these other languages.
But still, I think, of course, there are harder languages to learn as foreign languages, but still we hear quite often that Czech is almost impossible or it's super, super complicated. Can you explain that from a linguistic point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it so hard, or why people say it's so hard to learn?
Well, there are many, many qualities, and again, it does all depend on where you're coming from. Like a Spanish speaker is going to have a harder time than a Slovak speaker. The Slovak speaker would almost like, I don't even need to try. I'm just like, I know what you're saying, basically. Do you know what? I mean, I'm not even going to go linguistic. I'm going to go social and psychological. I think that one of the main sources of difficulty with the Czech language is that Czechs keep telling people it's difficult. Your first interaction in this country with a Czech, they'll be like, don't even bother. The barriers just go up immediately. If you, meet a Czech woman abroad, or a Czech man indeed, it's like literally one of the first things that they will say. We speak Czech, have you heard of it? Yes or no, doesn't matter, don't bother learning it, it's really hard. So instantly you've got to break through that social psychological barrier and persevere. And beyond that, of course, yes, there are many linguistic dragons that you need to slay. The sounds of the language can be very difficult. I mean, English speakers, even before you get to r, might have a hard time with a rolled r, a rolled r, which is actually quite difficult. Members of my own family can't actually pronounce that sound. So the sounds are not sounding great, to you. That's going to be difficult. The grammar works differently. You've got like Czech in terms of its word order, which was always my specialism in linguistics, is weirdly flexible in some ways and absolutely rigid in others, which is frustrating. And then, get onto the words themselves, which are just, as I said, can be, totally unfamiliar. So I do not deny that it is hard. I just want to help people to help themselves.
Just learn German and French, and then it's easier.
Yeah,
to
then it's
learn
easy.
Czech.
Then it's easy, and it's all downhill.
Or get engaged with a Czech lady, and eventually in 9 years you'll.
Obviously.
But another thing that Danny Bate, or Dr. Danny Bate, as he makes us call him, does is Word of the Week. And Word of the Week is a hit with our audience. It's usually, you can describe it as well, but it's usually a Czech word that has some interesting kind of connotations, historical, linguistic, etc. And yeah, so talk about this success, and like let's take one like that I remember in my brain. Like if you this is like a quiz or something.
Okay.
But like like bone, kost.
Ah.
You remember that one?
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember it, yes.
Give us some details about that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, Word of the Week is my little video series that they let me do on Radio Prague for good behavior.
And it's still going on. It's still
going. I mean, I need to record some more, I need to write some more, and I have some more ongoing. And the next one I have chosen for Word of the Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the next one I've chosen is Nevěsta, which means bride. It seems very appropriate to my case as well. So yeah, I mean, it's all about taking a Czech word and diving into a little bit of its history in a very short space of time, like maximum 1 minute 30, and trying to find some sort of information that allow viewers and listeners to just give them something to latch onto. So these words don't seem totally unfamiliar. It's the same principle. It's the same principle of unpacking these words. So kost, for example, kost means bone in Czech. And again, might seem totally strange. I mean, if you're not coming from a Slavic language, in Slovak, it's just gost, right? Gost, right? It softens the Slovaks like to soften that bit. Czechs not so much, but even still, like unfamiliar if your native language is English. But you may know things like osteo, as in osteoarthritis. It's arthritis of the bones, for example. Or you might have heard that. Or osteopath is somebody who at least claims to, don't sue me, osteopaths, but claims to work with the bones to make you feel better. And that comes from Greek, osteon. So we have a potential sister word in Greek that English has used a lot of. And likewise, I mean, we don't even need to go as far as Greek. Latin has costa. Costa means rib, as in the intercostal muscles. There's the muscles between your ribs. And in French, it's côte. And I'm assuming, côte means side. I'm assuming in Spanish, costa might mean, is it coast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about Costa Coffee?
Costa Coffee, I don't know what happened there. Even though that's my country that's responsible for that, it is actually British, which I love. Just as a total tangent, I love Costa Coffee in this country because in the UK it sells itself as being all Italian and authentically Italian, whereas in this country Costa Coffee sells itself as being British.
Wow,
British coffee.
Well, it is true that they say that they were born there, and it's like London coffee. But what's that mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Everybody thinks
London
of London
coffee houses sounds great.
Yeah,
but
right.
Like import that coffee,
Everybody thinks of London as the centre of the coffee.
They are not growing the beans in the Great Britain.
Maybe some are, I don't know, but literally what you were saying before, right? Like it makes sense for a linguist to be versed in all these different languages because it helps you so much. Like you literally make, probably it's some sort of mental mapping. They make connections, and then it's maybe easier to learn a language.
I think so. I really think so. Just, it's almost exponential. If you have one language, use what you've learned to learn another. A lover? Use what you've learned.
He's thinking about it.
I can't help it.
Well, but Juan speaks a lot of languages. It's not helping.
Yeah, not really.
Maybe
but
it's that social
maybe...
component that you're talking about.
No.
Bonus round.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Juan, please?
Let's do it. This is this is
also credit. You do know French, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't really help with Czech, I feel. I mean, I think that my experience...
we have a few minutes here.
Okay.
My experience with languages, it didn't help much with Czech, because before Czech I was studying German, and I thought that German was quite hard. And then I started with Czech, and I was like, wow, German is way easier. Yeah,
let's do a quick fire round.
Okay. Fine.
So we got 2 minutes left. Let's try to get through as many as you can. One sentence responses.
Okay, Jay. If you go back as late as the 18th century, so 1700s, and open a dictionary, you'll find that J doesn't get its own chapter. In fact, it's bunched up with I, because it's from I that J developed, basically, and that split happened very late in the day. R used to be a head. Originally, we talked about this lovely rendition, so if you go back far enough, R was a head, and the head is still kind of there, but you need to take away the little extra leg that it developed from the Romans, basically.
Evolution proof of it.
Basically that. Sure, whatever you say. We've addressed A. Okay? K. I love K. That's not only because my fiance's name begins with K. K, I like to call the alphabet's comeback kid. It is totally purged from the alphabet by the Romans, because we're talking like in the first few kind of last centuries BC, first few centuries AD. The Romans they don't need it. They literally don't need the letter K, so they totally get rid of it, and it sticks around long enough to make it into English, specifically Middle English, medieval English, post kind of 1066, and the people actually realize, oh no, we actually need this letter now. We need this a lot. Otherwise, we could not spell modern English.
We need the case, yeah.
Yeah, We need the Ks.
So one other reason why the empire fell is they got rid of the K, and lastly we
Sure.
got, this is actually a Z. Let's finish with the Z.
This is actually a Z. Okay, what do I like about Z? Z is Z. Similar story to K. Z was well. If you look at Greek, if you learn modern Greek, you'll find that the letter Z, or zeta as it is actually sixth. It's the sixth letter, not the last. So what happens there?
Yeah.
Same process with K. The Romans, again,
It's always the
it's always the Romans. You know, what have the Romans ever done for us? The Romans purge the letter Z from their spelling because they don't need it. But then, like literally 2 centuries later, when they've conquered Greece, they get a whole bunch of Greek words in the language, in the Latin language, and they think, oh no, we actually need the letter Z. So they bring it back. However, it's too late. Its spot in the alphabet in 6th position has already been given to something else, so they have to put Z in last place. That's the story of Z. And the letter Z reflects that, because it's Z, zeta. That's where it comes from, essentially. Although you may prefer Z as well.
Z or Z, that's why it's in last place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, well, maybe we can finish with one last word of the week, maybe.
Okay.
Which can be camarad. I think it's been great to
Oh.
to have this talk with a bunch of friends here in Radio Prague. I think that we were very lucky to share that moment, those moments in the same room. You know, the Spanish and English teams were combined for a couple of months, and I think that at least I was very lucky, and this chat was great. Yeah.
So yeah, we were lucky too. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me
So
back
Z
in the
is
building.
last in the alphabet, but you are first in our hearts.
Oh.
And on that note, that's why Q needs you. And, Dr. Danny Bate, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.